our favorite parents.
My glasses broke.
Just got them repaired.
You are always our favorite parents. We loved riding in whatever car we owned to church every Sunday and then to relatives for dinner. We loved vacationing in California and Canada, playing baseball, having water fights. Mom always had the last word, like the time she brought the garden hose through the back door into the kitchen. I remember the bucket coming in the back door myself. We loved putting on circuses, magic shows, boxing matches, and Christmas parties. We loved going to the Grange Hall for square dancing and listening to Daddy call the dances. You looked great in your matched outfits. Mom wore lots of petticoats and a black velvet ribbon around her neck. We ate potluck dinners in the basement with the Weddles, the Minks, the Wiles, the Geyers, the Doans, the Kings, and other Bustle and Bowes families. We loved going to Salem Senator baseball games and sitting with Grandma and Grandpa Beard down on the third base line. Grandma Beard made matching baseball outfits for the three little boys. We loved growing up at 2655 East Mount Hill Street in our big old yellow house with wonderful neighbors, the Simpsons and the Thomases, and Gretchen Kramer. We just loved growing up as Beard kids. Your favorite child. We love you. And there, at the top of this note, there's a little thing from dear Ann Landers. So we just thought that was appropriate. And there's some other good stuff in here too. There's a poem in here that was pulled together. Family is put together, and that have to kind of thank Joy for all of her work, because she did an awful lot of work. And then,
For all your
Everybody else.
What a job, though.
Yeah.
Do another one.
okay,
Mom, not yet.
okay, Mother, what do you call this, Spencer?
Memory box.
A memory box.
Does it play a tune?
No, it doesn't play a tune. But when you open it, there are sections for each of the families with our kids and grandkids, etc. And so this is something that you can kind of have fun looking through too.
John.
we only have one
Oh, yeah.
they go forth and multiply.
No problem.
And this box Spencer had engraved, and where did you get the box?
He made it himself.
Oh,
He's
You made it yourself?
my 8th grade shop class.
First time you ever told me it feels.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate it. It will be fun to go through those and look at all of them.
Do you know what? You've been wonderful children, and the best thing about you is,
You like each other.
and you've got the neatest husbands and wives. I mean,
And boyfriends.
And boyfriends and live-ins and whatever else you want to say.
Is this a good way to
Now he's okay. Sarah, you're okay too.
What else can we say except thank you?
Oh, we say thank you.
That's good. Shut off the cameras, that's it. Time to turn.
You know what? I don't remember writing down any memories about her faces getting smashed.
You know, after reading yours, I got wondering, is this me or you in this picture?
See, you got to read all this stuff. I have never seen it.
Well, I've just seen a little bit of it because we've been gone the last couple of 3 days. Some of the rest.
Look at that door. You're looking at that.
Look at that door.
I'll tell exactly before I
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
pipe cleaner people that were on Mom and Dad's wedding cakes and brought them today. And this is the cake that the minister of the church made, and his wife put the 60 little red foo-foos on it for 60 years. But I want to be sure you saw that that's the original that was on Mom and Dad's wedding cake. So, well, they'll cut the cake and you can, well, you need to talk to Grandma and Grandpa about that.
Ceiling hold it with both hands? Yeah, that's interesting. I'll make you hold it. Is that all you need, Tanya? Oh, come in here too.
Oh, got that. Got all of that. Got all of that one, Dad. Yeah. Oh, no.
Here you go, Gravity. Put that over here.
We just asked Mom and Dad if, we originally thought it might be fun to put on a little play about their life, and then we decided that it might be more fun to just have, to videotape them talking about, you know, the early days and those kinds of things. So, why don't you just tell us about, I mean, Daddy, you were talking today at lunch about the, when you first came from Oklahoma to Oregon, and then the history of what happened to your family. And so if you would just give us a little rundown on that, and then Mom, if you could tell us a little bit about what it was like to be growing up in Idaho, and then how you first met.
I'll tell you how we first met.
Okay, tell us how you
We first met when Raymond came to the house to ask Pollyanna to go to the movies, and Pollyanna wasn't home, and so he said, "Well, would you like to go?" And I thought he would, because he was.
I was
6
younger
months-
than she is.
He was. 6 months isn't younger, but anyway, so I thought, what could I lose? I didn't know.
That's about right.
That was it.
Well, what was this about a camp that you guys were at, though?
Camp Adams.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, we went to a church camp with the youth group from Night Memorial Church.
Yeah.
And Mom rode up in, I took Dad's car and hauled a load of kids up there. And Mom rode up with us. And
Under
that's,
protest. My father told me I had to.
anyway, that's about how we met.
I know a lot more about your courtship than anybody else.
What?
I say I know a lot more about your courtship than anybody else.
Well, you should. You were behind the Davenport all the time.
I forgot that you did. I forgot.
I knew he was there all the time.
All went to the movies and everybody was gone, and you know how it goes. And I was always behind the couch.
I forgot.
And so what are you going to tell us here?
I'm not going to tell you anything. I forgot everything I know.
It's a good thing.
Because very
I would work on that elevator or that plane you're going to fly on. It's a good thing you forgot all you know, because I would have worked on that elevator or that plane you're going to fly on. Well, early life in Oklahoma I don't remember too much about. Really, we lived out on the farm with my grandmother and uncle, her son, and my Uncle Rob. And we came out to Oregon in 1929, I guess it was. We stayed the summer and went back to Wisconsin and stayed the winter of 29 and the winter of 30 in Wisconsin.
But tell how you got around. How did you go all those places?
Oh, we went in an old Model T. What do you think? That was the only car in 1929, was a 1929 Model T. And that Model T made 2 trips to Oregon. On the first trip, we went back to Wisconsin, stayed there for a year and a half, 2 years, and then back to Oklahoma for 2 or 3 months, and then back to Oregon again. Second time to Oregon, Dad's brother and his family traveled with us, And when they got to the Dalles, Oregon, why, they cut off and went to Yakima, where his wife, brother, I guess, lived, Robert Titterington. And that's the Titterington Beard reunion connection, in case any of you people are interested in going to that reunion.
So was that Sydney?
That was Uncle Sidney that, that went to, no.
No. Aline, tell them about Uncle Sidney liking the apples on the tree. And tell them about that.
So, I don't think I can talk. When they got to almost to Yakima, you know, you get into the Yakima Valley, and they have irrigation everywhere because it's down in the flat. And so they have these big irrigation ditches running along the highways. And he saw the apple orchard over there, and he was gonna run over there and get an apple, and he just didn't even see the water or what. He just ran right, dropped right into the irrigation ditch, floating away in some air. Because he's so tiny, he's so little, you know. But anyway, he was just gonna get one of those apples.
Uncle Sidney disappeared. That's really something.
When you went on those trips across country, then where did you stay at night? Did you camp?
Oh, I think we just stayed in state parks that had camping facilities. I mean, that you just camped out. I mean, you pitched a tent and camped out. On the running board of the car, they had one of these stretch-out baggage containers that you could set baggage on the running board of the car. All the cars back in those days had running boards, and they had a stretch-out thing that clamped on the running board, and you could put your suitcases and all that kind of stuff in there, and you carried all your excess baggage and so on there. And we camped out all the way across the country.
Well, there weren't Motel 6s.
No, there was no motels. I mean, who had the money? Who had the money to pay for a motel anyway? and so that's the way we travel.
Do you know how much Dad was making? We just, when we got married.
$17.50 a week.
$17.50 a week for a 60-hour week. No overtime, no extra pay. You worked.
And look how underprivileged and sad
We
it
worked
was.
7 to 6 every day. If you were a slacker, you didn't work. you didn't last long. There was too many others standing in line to get your job. But
Now, was that as a boiler, in the boiler? In the railroad yard? What was that?
oh no, that was I was working for Fred Myers then. I didn't go to work down in the railroad yard until we moved to Portland in '42, I guess.
Johnny
And,
was such,
and then we bought a house out on, heck, I don't remember the street now.
Stafford Avenue.
Stafford Avenue, right, just off of
10
Union.
points.
Uncle Tad wants to know if you're allergic to something in the Fred
424
Myers.
Stafford.
No, well, yeah, my hands were, I worked in the vegetable department. My hands, I was allergic to a lot of the acids and insecticides, I suppose, that they sprayed the stuff with. And my hands would break out and get runny blood and bloody, sores. I'd have to put gobby medication on them and put socks on my head and hands to go to bed.
I bet the lettuce looked pretty good, huh?
Huh? What?
I say, I bet the lettuce looked pretty good after you got through them all.
Well,
Let's
I
not
was
dis-
washing them often enough at the store that they didn't matter.
How long was your courtship?
So, was the socks on the hands, is that got anything to do with the gap between Ray and Cindy?
Well, now that
No,
anyhow,
We didn't call.
And how many jobs did you have in Portland?
at one time I was working 3 jobs in Portland.
And they
5 o'clock till 7 at Swift and Company, processing invoices for the loads of meat that were going out for the day. And then 8 hours down at Fiberboard Products, which was right across the old steel bridge on the right-hand side. It's no longer there, the building. and that was a bookkeeping job that was, they made ice cream cartons, labels, you name it, they made it. If it was made out of paper or cardboard. And then from there, I would ride my bicycle down to Libby McNeil and Libby on Southeast Powell Boulevard and work a 7 to 11 shift.
And how did you sometimes get to that, one of those shifts on the back of a?
Oh,
Hanging on to a truck riding his bike.
I rode my bicycle all the way
Down Union Avenue.
down Union Avenue. But I would always catch a truck going north on my way home because I was tired. And I'd hang on to the tailgate of the truck or a chain or something, whatever was out there, and I would just lean back on my bicycle and let it go.
Now, children.
Hey, you didn't have a helmet on, did you?
Huh?
No helmet?
Oh, no. Yeah, helmet, what's that? I still don't wear a helmet when I ride a bicycle.
More than one speed, what is that?
But Johnny, you know, when he only had 2 jobs, I would take you in the walker and meet him. I'd walk up Union Avenue and meet him, and I always dressed you in cute little dresses with little bows in your hair.
Well, thanks for that.
He wasn't too happy.
Hey, Sean, it's okay, it didn't hurt me any.
Oh, we used to dress Tad up. Pollyanna and I dressed him up.
Hey,
Oh,
it turned out okay.
Sure it did,
No problem at all.
our courtship was long enough to
Decided to get
graduate
married.
from high school. You had to get out of high school.
Yeah, I had to graduate from high school first.
And get a job. And when did Daddy pop the question? I don't think
I
it was
don't
ever
think
popped.
there was
used to
ever a
do it.
Well, I
question
can
asked.
tell
It
you, I
was
behind the couch.
All the time. How long was your engagement? We didn't have engagements. Your wedding and reception.
Well, now wait a minute. I heard something about Grandpa Beard having to sign
Oh well, yeah.
a
Dad,
release or something.
Dad had to go down to the courthouse to get the license for us to get married, because I wasn't 21 yet, and so in those days you couldn't get a marriage license until you were 21. Now you can get a
19.
marriage license anytime, and nobody wants to get married. And my dad had. My favorite granddaughter.
Listen,
anyhow,
Daddy, listen. How long was your engagement? We had
We're
none.
not done with that one yet.
Your wedding and reception.
Let's go back to that one. Okay, keep going with the story.
Well, like I say, you couldn't get a license unless your father went down and signed the papers for you at the courthouse. So we got the license and we got married.
And we had and
Oh, yeah.
reception. We had a reception in the Night Memorial Church Social Hall, and we had it all figured out with Grandpa Beard. Ray's dad was an absolute riot. He had that long Hitler-type machine, you know, of his, parked in the
He had
preacher's
a
garage.
31 Dodge sedan, had wheel wells in the fenders and wheels on both sides of the car, and it was a straight 8 engine in the thing, and it looked a mile long.
But he had it parked. Grandpa was a jokester too. He had it parked in the preacher's garage. So we had this reception, and the darling man that came down from Portland to sing was singing the Ave Maria, and I poked Raymond, and Raymond poked me, and we snuck out between the screens and got in the back of the Hitler machine, and Grandpa took us out to our little house. And of course,
Yeah, believe it or not, we had a house. From the day we got married, we had our own house.
yeah. But
Paid
anyway,
$100 down on it. The total cost of the house was $2,500.
But he
If you kids are interested in getting married, why, I'll tell you how cheap it could be done in those days.
But Grandpa was having such a ball, and he takes us out to our house and dumps us off, and we go in the house. And
Lock the doors.
Ha ha ha! We've got a door between us and my mother, and so we lock the door, and it isn't any time at all until there's a rapping on the door. We're not paying any attention. More rapping on the door. And my mother's saying, "Mary Alice, you're in there. I know you are. I can hear you giggling." So we said nothing, absolutely nothing. She said, "Mary Alice, open that door." We said nothing. She said, "Mary Alice, you went off and you left your suitcase and your nightgown's in it." We were really laughing by then.
We were worried about that.
So she finally gave up and
Gave
left.
up and went home.
Did you leave it on the porch?
Yeah, she left it sitting on the front porch.
Just so you could have it.
Yeah.
Now, where was that house at?
You know where Orville's store is on South Commercial Street in Liberty Road? It's, then you hit the Y there, and about a block up is Salem Heights Avenue that goes up over the hill where Weddles lived. That's Salem Heights Avenue, and going the other direction is Crawford, or no, that's Salem Heights, and just halfway between the V of the old 99 highway, before they put in the new highway that goes by Meyer and Frank out there, or Fred Meyer's out there now, there was a street that ran off of that for about 2 blocks. It was Crawford Avenue, and that's where the house was that we bought before we got married, actually. I borrowed $100 from somebody and put $100 down on the house, and then we paid, I don't know, $10 a month or something like that.
Then how long were you there?
We were married in 40, we were there for about almost 2 years before we moved to Portland.
The birth of John David.
Did your parents have to sign for you?
Huh?
Pardon?
Did Mary Alice's parents have to sign for her?
No.
You were free to give.
I guess the women's liberation movement hadn't started yet.
But the birth of John David is another riot. Your father decided to cop out, got pneumonia, and stayed at home.
For 10 days after he was born.
Grandma
And she had to spend that 10 days in the hospital. But in those days, you couldn't.
They had to carry me in the house. You could not. You were not able to get up.
They didn't let you get up and walk around or nothing?
After 10 days, you had to spend 10 days in the hospital. Boy, did I get rid of that fast. The war years were terrible.
Oh, they weren't that bad.
Now,
It was
Emily
only about
was
2.5.
born during the war on Broadway Street?
No, we had Emily and Cindy both. No, not Emily. We had John and Ray.
They were both.
Where were you at when Emily was born?
Emily was born in 40.
So I thought, 2190.
50. Cindy was born in 1947.
I can remember one thing about Emily.
I'm only glad it's one.
What?
I'm glad it's only one.
But I remember you being pregnant, and I was concerned about you. But I can remember you being pregnant with Emily. And you were at 2190, and we walked out in the street, and I kept telling you, take it easy, you know, because this was about the day you were going to have Emily. And I kept telling you to
Are you
take
sure
it.
it wasn't Polly was going to have Bobby?
No, it was you. Because I can remember, I can remember being very concerned about you because I know how reckless you were. But, you know, anything that you did, you overdid it. But I can remember being out in the middle of Broadway Street, and I said, now take it easy. It seems like we were going to the hospital to have Emily. Was Ray gone?
Darling, you have it all mixed up.
Well, no, wait a minute. But I can remember this. The one thing I do remember was I kept telling you, take it easy, take it easy. Don't move so fast and so on. And you said, oh, quit that. And you reached up and gave me a great big boot. You flew off the ground and gave me a great big boot. And I swear that night we were delivering, I thought it was Emily.
No.
You're talking about delivering. He said during the war. He said during the war, because all the men were gone and we were expecting Bobby, and here Bob is gone, of course, in the Air Force, and we're up there in the hospital, and Tad comes sailing up, and he said to Mother and I, he said, "Don't worry about a thing, I'll take care of it." And he said, "Where is she?" And we said, "Down the hall in the third room." He went sailing down the hall to the third room, and it wasn't any time at all till he came back white as a sheet, and he said, "I'm going fishing."
How old was Tad when that occurred?
How old were you, darling?
I must have been,
How young are, how,
I must have been 14-ish.
That was
Yeah.
45, Ted. How old were you? 45.
What year were you
Born
born?
in 28, so
Yeah.
You were
16,
about
yeah.
You were about 16.
you were about 15.
15, 16.
But boy, did you ever think about delivering babies.
I had a lot of experience with you.
That's it.
So now,
No, that's not
go back to Portland. So how long were you in Portland?
From 42 to 44. Or no, 40.
Must have been 43 because Ray was born in Salem.
Born in Salem, and I was born in 43.
Well, I guess we went to. Well, we must have gone up to Portland in 41 then, because we were up there when the war started, and we couldn't get gas coupons to even go home to Salem. So it was probably 42 when we moved back to Salem then, and I went to work for the state of Oregon and worked there for a couple of years, and I got my notice that I was going to be reclassified to 1A, even though we had 2 boys, and so I decided I didn't want to go and be a foot soldier, and so I joined the Air Force.
What'd you do for the state of Oregon?
I was working in the accounting department.
By that time,
Highway
he
department.
graduated from a pedal bicycle to an automatic, you know. A gas
Yeah,
one.
that's what I took in school, was
Did somersaults on.
business course, business
his hat on
accounting
his
and all
head.
that sort of thing. So I ended up a meat cutter.
And he'll prove it.
Yeah. Got all the proof, too.
How did you end up a meat cutter from being an accountant
Because I didn't want to go back to work for the state when I came home,
after the Air Force?
after I was out of the Air Force, yeah. And Mary Alice's dad knew George Tompkins, who had a store out on State Street. And he said, George wants to get somebody that he can train to be a meat cutter, and this service would pay the difference between what he would pay and meat cutters' journeyman wages. That was an on-the-job training type of job, and they made it a full-time, full-pay type of job, which I could afford. I mean, I could live on that. I couldn't have on just apprentice wages. And so